All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, Caden.
Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone. This is Justin and Caden at Seeking Context, and we're going to talk today about how we record our live interviews and then how we have edited and produced our first produced episode of Seeking Context, episode 21, which was 9/10 the day before. And so I'm going to do a quick thing here where I share this content on my own Facebook page. Well, I'll do that when you're talking, Caden. So,
Okay.
All right. So when Caden and I started out, all we were doing is just live interviews of people. But when we do them live, we use this program called StreamYard. And so first off, I'll sort of show you how StreamYard works. And so I'm going to share my screen. And I guess big picture is we're providing this week this sort of conversation because we decided to delay the release of part 2 of our produced podcast while I'm gathering a couple more interviews from a tanker pilot and from some people that fly in the back of the AWACS. They're called ABMs, or the Mission Crew Commander. And that's going to add a little more color to the story and really sort of broaden the scope of the story. And that takes time. And we learned that producing a podcast where you're editing and adding music consumes all of your time. And so we gave ourselves a little extra time. So I'm going to share my screen, and it will be screen 2. All right. So this is StreamYard. And I don't know, we pay something like $30 a month for this. It's not very bad. And right now that we are recording and editing, this podcast is actually happening. Or this live stream. And so if I create a podcast and I go new broadcast, then I can select, okay, I want Seeking Context Facebook page, Seeking Context YouTube page, and Seeking Context Twitch page. And we've configured this so that it already knows. I could put Justin Wieland's Facebook page on here, but we've made this decision recently that we're going to only share the videos directly to our sort of organization pages, and then from there we reshare them to our individual Facebook pages, and that way the video that persists and that lives on is on the organization Facebook page, so we're not like cannibalizing our own viewers on multiple. We already are doing that on multiple platforms, but we don't do it with a video that would be on my feed and a video that's on the Facebook page for Seeking Context and a separate one that's on a Facebook page for Caden. And that way, when we reshare the video, if we get 500 views or 1,000 views, those are all on the same video, and the comments, it sort of helps it helps Facebook's algorithm believe that there's something good that people are enjoying watching if you get lots of views.
Right.
And so that is StreamYard. So then once we publish it and we record it, if it is a live broadcast, and that's it. If it's just the interview, then Caden, you upload it to, you edit the audio, right? Mm-hmm. And then you upload it to a thing called Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout, correct.
Right. And that process is pretty easy, right?
Correct. I don't have Audition pulled up right now, but Audition is just a regular old audio editor, and all I do is I throw it in there. Usually there's a delay from when you say, okay, we're live, and to when it actually starts. So I'll take out maybe 5 seconds, and then all I'm doing is a little bit of compression and noise reduction. Sometimes there's a dog that just like runs in the middle of recording, or
we've had multiple dog barks.
There's been a lot of dog barks. There was a really good one where there was a whole clock collection that was just going off every hour. And luckily it's only about an hour and some few minute podcast. But so I took out one of those and I'll just kind of remove some noise, and then I'll take that MP3 and I'll put it on Buzzsprout. And that will send it all to every single podcast platform that we are listed through.
Right. And similar, it's like $30 a month or something for Buzzsprout. And Buzzsprout publishes for us to iTunes and Spotify and actually, maybe I'll pull it up here because I'm actually kind of curious. I don't think we've ever set up. There's like one of the platforms that still isn't set up.
Is it? I feel like it was Stitcher or something.
Plan podcast info. Hold on, I'll share my screen and we can just look at this. Share screen and this. All right, so I'm here this is on Buzzsprout. And so you can see in here, this shows episodes. It shows our stats of how many people have downloaded it. Here's the players. You can embed these players that Buzzsprout has on your website. They create on Buzzsprout a website for you that you can use to host your podcast. We didn't use that. We created our own website that we host on our own page because it's more custom, but that's how it works. And here's the directories. So this is what's that?
It's Pandora. Well,
it's Pandora.
Something about Pandora.
Sorry, Pandora. I think I have to do something extra to get them to list it. So, the big three are Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. But then Amazon Music, Stitcher, all of these, once you load the audio to Buzzsprout, it distributes it to all of those platforms. And you can we have cover art. This artwork here is the cover art for our podcast, but then every individual episode can have its own cover art. Then you can still go to monetization, which is negative for us because we haven't done anything. We did not earn money on the Seeking Context podcast at this stage. Then you can like add a title and those sorts of things. And anyway, that's basically the way Buzzsprout works, which is pretty cool because then you don't have to share it. You don't have to go to iTunes. You don't have to go to all these other places. And if you like something happens and you need to change the audio for a particular episode because you needed to clean up something, then when you do that, it will replace it on all of those podcast platforms too. It's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then that's how we do our live videos.
Right.
So for 9/10, the day before, we did 7 interviews and then took all of those and told this story about what happened to all these pilots and aviators and Air Force leaders on 9/11. And so in this case, we record the interviews the same, but we just recorded live to Twitch because nobody watches us on Twitch. and also Twitch is not really permanent. It's more like it goes away quickly. So then when we finish recording, we upload the audio of the podcast of that interview to a thing called Otter. It's called otter.ai. And so I will share my screen again. And so Otter is pretty cool. So you can see these are all of the interviews that we've done. And I'll show you, for example, Seeking Context with F-15 pilot Corey Bauer. So if I go in here to this episode, we uploaded the audio and then it puts timestamps and it identifies my name and Corey's name. And then we have to tell it, okay, this person is Corey. It's like person number 2. But once you tell it that there's this voice, it starts recognizing his voice and my voice, and it puts all of these timestamps for the whole interview. And so you can listen to it. If I press play here,
on the squadron, military aviation squadrons, and
so so then you can QC what was actually said, and you can edit this text. And so then for putting together the produced episode, what we do is I listen to it or I go through it and think, okay, what are the answers, the things that we talked about that are relevant for the story? Because like with Corey's interview, it's about an hour, but we only talked about September 11th for about 20 minutes. So the stuff about that he's doing currently and the stuff that led up to his experience on September 11th wasn't directly relevant for most of the interview. So I go and I pick the pieces of the conversation that I really want, or that I'll actually use in the episode. And so then what I do is I'm like, okay, so if let's say that it's
mostly our group.
So if I'm like, okay, I want this statement where he says, mostly we are a group of team designers, graphic artists, and customer service folks. Let's say that that's the quote that I want. I'll tell Buzzsprout to edit, or not Buzzsprout, Otter to edit this. And then I put my cursor here. I put a line return there, and I put a line return at the end of the statement that I want in the podcast, and then hit done. And then I copy this quote that Corey said, and then I switch over to a Word document, and I go down to where I had Corey's portions of the interview, and I'll say I'll put it after this, and I paste it in here. And then what I do is I hand type in, I'm like, okay, this was Corey Bauer. Get back, come back.
And then it goes away.
Then it goes away, and we lose all of our data. So Corey Bauer, and I look over here, and this was from minute 4:41 to minute 4:56. And so now that's added to these sets of quotes from Corey that I wanted for the interview, or for the podcast. Mm-hmm. And so I had 7 guests on the last podcast. And so I just did that. I went through every single interview and pulled all of the timestamps and the text of the quote that I wanted. And then Caden and I talked to this, and I asked Caden, I was like, do you want to just use this? And you didn't really want it if it wasn't ordered in the order we're going to use it in the podcast, right?
Right. And when we get to what I did with your script, I think you'll see why I did that.
Right.
But yes, if it wasn't in order, I would just have a bunch of cut up videos, and then I'd have to kind of scrub through them again and find out which one is which. So I just waited for the entire thing.
You have to load your thing to Otter and get timestamps again. So then what I do is I take all of those individual quotes, and I put them in the order of the story that I want. And so I'm like, I said, okay, at the start of this, I wanted to, like, this is the first part of our script where I was like talking about what people were doing on September 10th. So I got Scott Lindholm's quote from what he was doing that morning, then Jeff Van Dusen, and then General Robinson. And so then I put the whole thing in order. And then once I'm done with that, my next task on my side is I've got to write all of these voiceovers where I'm explaining the things that people are about to say, because we didn't want to use my questions in the podcast. It's more like a documentary. You don't want to hear the person asking the question. You want to hear them telling the story. And so I just wrote contextual information that sort of sets up each quote. And then I send this document over to Caden, and then Caden takes over and puts all of the pieces together.
Correct.
And the other thing that I do, well, actually, I guess I'll let you talk for like how you take those pieces and put them in order on the software that you use.
Right. Okay. So here's this. Now we can see, here's what StreamYard looks like. So I'll get the Word document.
And what program is this?
This is Premiere Pro, okay. Another Adobe program. And so here's the final script of the first thing. And what I'll do is I'll go to the very top here, and we've got Scott Lindholm at 5 minutes and 5 seconds. And so I've loaded in here. This is a really long timeline. At the end here, I have every single interview put together. So, and they're all color coordinated. It's very pretty.
That's pretty cool.
It is pretty nice.
So
So I've got,
that's the full length of every single one of the 7 interviews.
that's right. Starting from right here with Jeff Van Dusen all the way to Corey Bauer, correct? That's yes.
Yeah.
And then that's about, it's about a 10-hour timeline with everything, but it starts about at right around 4 hours. So it's about about 6 hours or so of just continuous interview.
Uh-huh.
So I already forgot who our first person was in our script. So we'll pull that up. Oh, we're Scotland home. See, I kind of am getting better at just knowing them by their color, but I've been out of the game a little bit. Where the heck do I not have? Oh, there it is. Yellow, of course. So in here, you can see I've already got chunks taken out of this, like it's a big piece of cheese. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Drag this. So here's the full thing uncut. And you'll probably see these green little markers in here. And so we'll double click on the full interview. This is the full, I think, hour and a few minutes. And in here, up on this left corner, that's just the interview. So we have this timeline for just the interview. And these markers are what I use from Justin's timestamps to find this section. So we've got a 5 minute, 5 second. So in here, I'm typing in 5 minutes, 5 seconds. And I'll press play. And we're looking for I'm guessing the first word is so. That's right. So I always tell people, I just clicked out of that. Whoops. So what I'll do there is I'll kind of bring it back a little bit and I'll press this marker button. And now we've got a marker in here. And our big timeline with all of our different videos, we've got a marker down here. And I'll come in here. And we're real close so we can see literally every word he has a little waveform. I should say so. Oh, just kidding. There it is. And so what I'll do is I'll get the little razor tool out and I'll go through and I'll find what he needs. I'll just say that it ends right about here. And then I'll just take it out. I'll Control X, copy it or cut it out there. And then I'll go all the way over here to our big timeline. And this is our finished product over here.
So you're doing this in the exact same file.
Exactly. It's all in the same project.
Hmm.
And so here's our first thing. I copied this over. And there's a bit more editing that's gone into this clip. But here's that clip we just got.
And when you copied and pasted that, like, did it only copy on the video? Like, because the interview is both me and Scott on the whole screen. Like, do you have it set to only cut the section of the video that's on the right side?
No. So what I did for that is after I actually had them all set up, so it was just you and Scott, and it was kind of like this over here on the left. And what I would do is at the very end, I have all these nice colored, different categorized videos, and I'll double click on those, and I'll go to an effects. And here's all the effects, and I can move it around the screen. I can actually just, you can see it kind of moves around. But I'll just we'll Control Z that. And there's an effect you can crop, and that's what I use to crop you out. I scale it up so it's 200% scaled, and I crop him out. And then I can literally just copy this crop effect, and I'm going to put it on a different one, and we're going to see that it's going to really affect Jeff Van Dusen here. I'm going to, well, I guess
it's a great picture of Jeff, by the way.
It is. We'll, here, he looks a little upset.
A little more serious.
Yeah. So now we have two different crops on his, one of them not being his original videos, being Scott's, but I'll go through and every color that was yellow, I'll just apply that effect to that video. And so by the end, we have all these different ones of just the interviewer.
And it's able to do it on all of the yellow only, so that
right.
If the way that the screen was, like, because Jeff ended up being on an iPhone instead of on a laptop sort of aspect ratio.
Yeah, because his was a vertical ratio, so I had to see I was the wrong one, so I need to get rid of this one. So he had the vertical aspect ratio, and you can see it's like 63:24, while this one over here for Scott was 50:25. So yeah, it can do it just for those specific different video clips.
Right.
And then after that, Justin sent me all of his WAV files. Oh, I already got rid of that. So then in the script, we can just start off here. All of these green files below are all of Justin's voiceovers.
Right. And what I did there is I used this program. What is it called?
Audition.
It's an Adobe program, and I just sat in the hotel room or in the bathroom.
It was right.
I was recording in a hotel in El Dorado, and the air conditioner was too loud. And if you turned it off, the street noise was too loud. So hotel bathrooms are very quiet, and they're good recording studios.
Here,
That's what I learned.
Let me see if I can find the you keep talking, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, so anyway, so what I did, I would record all of the voiceovers that I had written to introduce each of the clips, and I would then get 6 of those, and then I would send those to Caden, and he would, I don't know if I put them at Otter or not. Oh.
There it is. This is the bathroom setup, sponsored by Dollar Shave Club. Anyway, not yet.
Oh,
anyway, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. We switched sides.
Oh,
yeah, that's the recording studio for Seeking Context, and so then you took those voiceovers and you just overlaid those audio files. Like, can you overlay 5 or 6 audio files at the same point in the video?
Yes. So I'll pull that back up real quick. So right here we can already see we have 3, but up here you can see this says V10. That's how many image files we have layered on top of each other. So you can go way higher than 10, but for us we only needed 3. Yeah, the most we ever really have overlapping is 3, because then this bottom section is all of our copyright-free music.
Right. Well, tell me about that. Where did you get? So we looked at some different things for music on this. Where did you end up pulling the instrumental music that you used?
I literally think it was called free accompaniment music. And I looked at, literally it was something like that. Let me see if I can find the original file. But it really was I read through it, make sure it's but you have to donate or you have to, credit us somewhere. And no, I read through all the terms and it just said, use it. I don't know really who made it or what it was for, but there was a section that was voiceover music. And one of them was called patriotic something or other. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. And there's one that was called, let's see if where did I put those? But there was one that was called isolation or something. And they're all just kind of somber background music. And they're all from the same site. And I threw them in there and they really all just worked well. I did a bit of tweaking to make sure they flowed well with an interview, or maybe if there was a point where I'm you don't really need music there for this person talking. So I'd maybe scoot it over kind of to when they stop talking. So that was the most simple thing I think in the project, was just throwing music in there.
Really? Well, I mean, you must have edited it or tried it a few different ways, because you sort of hit the crescendos and added it. I was also curious because there were times when it's just silence and talking. When did you decide to be okay, I need to start bringing in the music here? Because it seemed like you sort of nailed it on the last episode. And I didn't even edit it or suggest anything. You just did it.
Well, to be honest, if anything, it was your script that really helped, because the way you put it all together is it really was a very steady flow of ups and downs. And so you can see here, it follows a pattern. It literally is like there's a bit of gap, and then it goes a bit of gap, and then especially with you can see that when it gets a little louder, they have these bigger waveforms. I just kind of timed it up with the most impactful words that was in the script, and so it just really worked out fairly easily. And it was a lot of just I listened to the entire special over and over and over again, and so I just kind of knew like, oh, there should be music there, or this needs something, and so I'd throw it in there.
Right.
So I guess it was all by ear.
Right. Well, and so then, like in our next 2 episodes, I'm planning some specific music at the end of it, right? But will you end up? Because we need to talk about this, but like I was thinking that we'd probably have similar music for the main body of the episode. Were the files the music that you ended up using? Is there a bunch more of it, or were they all pretty short clips?
They were all about 3 minutes. But I was able to kind of stitch them together so that they all kind of, they weren't in the way, but then you're like, oh, there's the same music again. But there was no like hour long tracks. Right.
I guess that's about it. Well, I guess there were some other. We'll just talk about some hiccups. So
sure.
We always have gone live and had planned to do truly a live sort of intermixing a component of the episode that was pre-recorded with me doing like a live thing, and we were having some internet problems, and the also on OBS, like playing music while I was talking wasn't working on the internet. And so we ended up using Restream. So Restream.io is another service like StreamYard that is more expensive and does some other things, like you can give it a whole 1 hour episode and press stream live, and it goes live right now. So what actually happened is I recorded we sort of recorded my intro and my outro live on the morning of September 10th, but then hit play on Restream about 15 minutes later in order for it to be streamed to the internet without any risk of it not working.
And it worked perfectly, I have to say. When I think that if we never told anybody, I think people would have thought it was live.
Yeah. It was live. I recorded it live like 5 minutes before we hit play, and it was uninterrupted. So I feel like it was basically a live broadcast.
Exactly. I think it worked really well. Like you can see here, and then there was another thing where there was a delay for.
Well, I was watching. The problem on that delay is that it's Twitch. When you broadcast Restream to Twitch, I don't know. I think it's even on StreamYard. It's like the first 5 seconds are lopped off. It's just not there. And so that doesn't happen for the streams to Facebook and YouTube. When you press stream and it says live, you're live on Facebook and you're live on YouTube. And I think you're live on Twitch about 5 seconds later. And so we added that entry screen because that was being a problem.
And so what we did is we added that like 5-10 seconds. I think it was a little too long, but I just wanted to make sure we didn't get anything cut out. We had our whole intro here for the trailer, and then we had Justin's live intro, and it flowed right into the special with all the images and whatnot. And then at the very end, we did the exact same thing where the special ended, and then it came in with Justin's outro, and I think it just worked really, really well. So let's hope we can recreate it.
You think we're going to pull it off again twice in a row?
Definitely. I think we are that good. And so
all right. Well, so that's basically it. I am legit interested in people that are watching this. If you have different techniques, different services, Otter is one. There's another program called Dovetail that also is artificial intelligence that will take all of your audio and give you a transcript. I like Otter because it assigns a person and then recognizes that person all the way throughout it, and that the way that you can sort of put a line return and it gives you the timestamp right there. It just works really well for this particular use case. But I'm curious if people use other audio to text AI engines and what they like, or other programs. That's how we did it.
I think we did it pretty well. I
For
think
a two-man operation, I feel like
that's true. We aren't a very big team, but I think we did it pretty well, all things considered.
Right. Is that our time?
It's our.
You didn't talk about the overlays, because we meant to talk about that. The overlays that you can do in StreamYard.
Right. So for the live interviews, one of my jobs before it starts is I'll get the person or person's names, and like with ours, we're in the wrong place. But right now, I'm Justin Wieland, and that's Caden Runnals. That's a beautiful name. Anyway, so I make those just through Photoshop. I have a template set up, and it's pretty simple. Just type in their name. Well, during the clock thing, and it was with the
Jim
Spencers. That's right, Jim and Carol Spencer. It happened at like a minute 15 or something, and it was just really loud. And couldn't say anything the whole time. They're just
5 minutes of clocks ringing,
and they're just sitting there like, haha, this is silly. So I was like, okay, well, I should probably find something. And so I went during the interview, I was listening, but went on to Photoshop, and I just found some clocks and I threw them in there, and I made this, and I was hoping I would get to use it for when the clocks went off. It's the Spencer's clock collection alert, but it never happened. I showed everyone afterwards and they loved it.
It did happen when we were talking, like right after we went off the air.
That's right.
Carol loved it. That was it's too bad you weren't able to use that live on the air.
I know. And I had to really make sure that I wasn't doing it, because there was some deeper topics touched in the interview, and I didn't want it to be like something very deep and then the clocks go off and then the clock alert goes and I'm like, so I just had to really make sure, if it did happen, that it was a hot dog story or something.
Right. It wasn't a talk about mortality.
Right. No. But yeah, so hopefully there's some more opportunities for stuff like that to happen.
Yeah. I guess the one thing I'm curious about, so I was like, this is my Yeti microphone that Caden talked me into buying, because the sound is really important, especially for when you load it to iTunes and when people are listening to an audio podcast in their car.
Uh-oh. Whatever you did something. No. Okay. Well, while Justin is fixing that, yes, I did say it was important, especially for an audio podcast, that our audio, it's still not going, still not back. Check your settings. That an audio is very important. I have a condenser microphone, but it's nothing amazing. But it's pretty nice compared to a USB microphone. Justin has his Yeti, and it's very portable. I heard something for a second. No, I can't hear you still. It's very portable. He's always on the road doing something, and so I think he just throws it in a suitcase and plugs into his Mac. All of this is through him. Oh,
okay, I'm back.
He's back.
I have this Minicam. I loaded this program called Minicam on my computer 6 months ago, and now it always wants to be my microphone, a virtual microphone. So anyway, as you can see, it's important to have good audio.
That's exactly right.
But yeah, so what do you use for microphone?
It's a condenser microphone. It's called a newer. It's just a really dinky condenser microphone. But the reason I got it is, one, it's cheap, and it also is fairly portable for a condenser microphone. And all that means is it goes in through I think it's through phantom power, and it's just a condenser box that is already plugged in to a wall. And from the box, that goes into the computer, and that's where I get my audio.
Right.
So it's nothing. I would say it's probably about the same level of your Yeti. But it is nice to just have it attached to my desk, and then I can, swing it over, not think about it for a while.
Right. It's on like an arm with
It is,
screws and bolts and stuff. Just you're not taking that thing to an offsite interview.
That's right. That's the thing I think that works really well with your microphone is that you can just plug it in, change a setting, and you're ready to go.
Right.
Yeah. So it's pretty nice.
Cool.
And
all right. That's about it. I guess the only other thing is that like the other tool that we use is for our website, and we build our website on Webflow. And so after we get done with an episode, then we have to go in and we have to add episode notes, and there's a whole bunch of sort of legwork that has to happen to we put the transcript out there, which is good for SEO, search engine optimization. That way it can see that there's all of this content that's related to whatever the guest is that they talk about. And we're trying to put also if the guest has talked about a book that they wrote or someplace that they work that they are interested in sharing, or if they work at a nonprofit, how someone can contribute to that organization or get involved. And so that's also sort of legwork that has to happen afterwards. And, I've got Jillian Jones has been working on that. Marion Adams has worked on that. And then we're also working with a company called Poditize in Orange County, California, that's helping us like figure out how to make the website more better, more effective at
being better,
being attractive to people that visit your website, because just trying to gain traction. And when somebody hears something about your podcast, or they hear something on the audio or watch the video and they want to follow up, you want to have that on your own website. And so that's a lot of extra work that has to happen afterwards. So
right.
I think those are all the tools we use, unless I missed anything.
No, I think another important fact is that you run basically every interview through your Mac. You don't have you install through a portable laptop.
That's right. I'm not using any other camera other than the one that comes on. I have a MacBook Pro, but it's just a regular camera. It's like I think it's a 4-year-old computer.
Right. So, I mean, you don't have to have, crazy equipment. You don't need to have a studio to have some content.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I think that is basically everything we use.
Cool. Yeah. And it's cool. There's so many cool tools that you can use to make your life easier. And with 2 people put together something that was pretty meaningful and effective. And I agree. I think we're going to do it, but we got a lot of work to do to get these. I've got all 7 interviews done, and I've written I've put the episodes in order. And have you put the episode 3 in order yet?
I think so. I put the one. I think everything you've sent me, I have put together.
Okay. All right.
So yes.
Yeah, because I was wondering, why don't you? That's the other thing we use is WeTransfer. So the files that these end up being, the video files, are gigantic, and this company called WeTransfer lets you send enormous files. It can be free. We have a paid version so that I can go and download something afterwards if I want it, and it keeps it for indefinitely. If the free version, the link that you send only lasts for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also helpful, and that's problematic because Caden's internet connection is insufficient. It took us like an hour and a half to send the just to load the podcast up to Restream last week, right?
Ooh, yeah, it's tough, and it's an infrastructure thing. You would think that at this point the internet is a utility for people, but you would be wrong if you're in El Dorado, countryside, where it's tough to get a good connection.
No dollars I can pay can help you.
I don't think so. Maybe enough dollars to like make a satellite that or a big tower
They make that. I've seen there's a company that has this box that you can take to your wedding or to your important event that doesn't have internet, and it's really expensive. And I think it's
Wow.
like it will talk to lots of towers, or maybe it's satellite, but you can rent it for hundreds of dollars a day, and then you will know that you have good internet. Don't know
Good.
what the name is. So
Yeah, it does. It like I remember it was like 9. What was our start time? We said we want to do it by 10.
we were gonna go live at 10 a.m. on September 10th, and then 11, and then it was gonna be an hour to load it up to restream. So we ended up broadcasting it, I think, at 1 o'clock.
And I had to go, and I had to then go after and work somewhere. So I was like, oh, please make it before I have to leave, just so I know it makes it. And yeah, it took like an hour, and I was just sitting here. I'd walk around a bit, go upstairs, then I'd come back down. It's like from 2% to 4%, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, you texted me. We're over 80%. That is a transfer that you don't want to fail.
Right. I don't want it to be stuck at
90%.
like 90%, and then I'm like somewhere across town. So yeah, it's a little tough when you don't have the best internet connection, but we made it work.
All right. Well, I'm going to call the city council in El Dorado and see what we can do.
Get that done.
All right. Well, that's all I got for today. Have a good rest of your weekend, Caden, and
You too.
America. Actually, I think we have some international. The other thing you can do on, you can do this on Facebook and on YouTube and on Buzzsprout. It lets you see where your audience is, and so Kansas is a big draw for us, but we've got some international viewers. So
Wow.
yeah.
Look at us. You've interviewed a few people. Or I guess, has it only just been Joseph?
With Joseph, yeah, Joseph was from India, and
I think that's really it.
I think that's my only
Outside
international guest to date.
Well, we'll get more, and they'll come crawling to us.
we need the travel budget, because I really feel like we should be interviewing people in tropical places that are far away.
Right. And I think it'll take like a week vacation for you to, get used to the environment, maybe like a cruise line or something.
We'll need the producer has to come, right?
That's right.
So, all right. Well, that's how Seeking Context, how the sausage is made.
That's exactly right.
So, all right. Thanks, Caden. See you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other things that we do? Nothing else that we want to disclose.
No, nothing. That's top secret.
All right. I'll see you later.
All right. Bye.